What is the UFC doing, man? What are we doing with this company? Not even just Dana White, because Dana White, it's, we understand this guy is not that important anymore. A few weeks ago, I forget who it was, but it was basically like announced that Dana White's just like the face of the company. Hunter Campbell, people like that, they are the real ones. They are the matchmakers, stuff like that. Dana White's just, he's just got that pink face to put on the UFC front page. And people know him. Not a lot of people know Hunter Campbell. Anyways, today I'm going to be doing my little rant on the UFC nowadays, okay? Let's just get right into it. The cards. I don't get it, man. The co-main event of this week's fight night, Zalal versus Aljo Sterling. The co-main is Norma Dumont versus Jocelyn Edwards. Are you fucking kidding me? Are you kidding me? Fuck it. Why? The co-main? Because she got a smile tattoo on the bicep. Jocelyn Edwards, peep that in the bottom left corner. That's the reason. The other week, what fight night was it? I forget. But it was Amanda Lemos versus Jillian Robertson. That was the Kevin Vallejos one. What the fuck are we doing? And then we got some fights on cards that are just losses on losses. This was Darius Flowers versus Oh my god, I forget his name. I'm blanking on his name. Oh my god. He's a crafty vet. He took Tony Ferguson to on a grueling fight. It was a banger. Hurt Ferguson a bunch of times. Lando, I think his first name is. I forget. I'm blanking right now. But that's not the case. Both of these guys were on losing streaks. Darius Flowers, the black guy, he didn't even win. He hasn't even won in the UFC before this fight. He won that fight, went on a crazy ramble. But, what are we doing, man? What are we doing? And if you look at co-mains on cards, not even just, the Apex cards like this, Edwards versus Dumont. The other week, UFC 327, that was co-main event, RDR versus Kyle Brajado. Are you fucking kidding me? And that was a terrible co-main event. It wasn't that bad of a fight, but it was a terrible co-main event. Why the fuck are we just not giving a fuck about co-main events anymore? Seriously. I don't get it. Oh, wait, no. That was 326. My fault. 326. 327, that just took place. That was Paulo Costa versus Azamat Murzakanov. That kind of gets an excuse because that wasn't the original co-main. The original was Tyra versus Van. That got pushed to 328. But still, 326, I think, is a perfect example. And that was supposed to be the banger violence card. Holloway versus Oliveira 2 for the BMF belt. It didn't play out like that. One of the most boring fights, dominated by Oliveira. But still, that was supposed to be the violent card when it's just pure chaos, just KOs and shit like that. And then we get RDR versus Kyle Brajado as a co-main event. That's a featured fight at best, dude. What are we doing? Do we just not care? Do we not care about putting some ranked fighters on Apex cards? Because listen, the most ranked fighters that are on Apex cards are mainly women. And even fight nights in general, even special fight nights like UFC Houston or Seattle or shit like that, there's not a lot of ranked opponents, ranked fighters. Why? There are so many motherfuckers who are out and not fighting. Yair Rodriguez, where the fuck is he? Where the fuck is he? The last opponent he faced was Pitbull at UFC Miami last year, right? Pitbull has faced 2 guys so far. And won. He's faced twice. He faced Dan Ige. He faced Aaron Pico. And he was the loser of the Yair Rodriguez fight. Where the fuck is Yair? Honestly, we'll get to matchmaking problems in a second. But some of these fighters, I don't fucking understand what's happening to them. I think Yair Rodriguez is probably the biggest case right now because I think he's ranked 5. But like it's just crazy. And I think the big problem, the big cause of the problem with the bad cards and everything is just recently they've just I fucked that up. But they just have so many fight nights. Okay, listen, I love MMA. I love UFC. I love making videos, making content. I love watching it, predicting whatever. The Shabuzi. I love all of it. But it gets to the point where if we have a fight night every week, it's like, would you rather quantity over quality? In my opinion, and I think a lot of people agree with me, quality is better. If we see this, Allen versus Costa, May 16th, and then we get the first week break. The first week break. I think the last week break was maybe a month ago. We have 327. Fuck. What was the main? Strickland versus Hernandez. UFC Seattle. UFC Canada. Oh my God, UFC Canada. I can't believe I blanked on that. That's another great example of what the fuck are we doing with the cards. Honestly, nobody really gave a fuck about the fighters on that card. Maybe if you're Canadian and you're like, oh, gotta support the Canadians. That's the thing. But that card was shit with name value. And also, here's the thing, right? This is the dilemma I brought up in my breakdown of that fight night last week was the UFC puts on fight nights with no names, okay? With barely anyone they recognize, or like people on massive losing streaks. No one really gives a fuck. They do that, and even on special fight nights too, like Winnipeg, Canada. Winnipeg. That was crazy that they did that. But the fact that they do that and then it performs well, like UFC Winnipeg, I shit on it, and a lot of people shit on it too because it had no name value, weird matchups, because losses on losses, shit like that. But then it goes out there to be a really good fight night. They put on bangers, good crazy KOs, shit like that. But it's because of how it performed. The UFC sees that and they're like, oh, we don't have to change anything. We don't have to put on name value fighters on cards. We don't have to put ranked opponents. We could just sail off into the sunset easy. They get comfortable. They get comfortable with the product. You know what I mean? Like, they don't give a fuck as long as it performs. And yes, performing is the best thing for UFC, but also you want to see the best fight the best. You want to see competitive fights, or you don't really want to see a fucking lopsided fight every single time. You don't want to see fighters who are both on massive losing streaks who should retire. I mean, speaking of retire, what the fuck was that main event? Oh my God, I'm getting pissed. What was that main event? Gilbert Burns versus Mike Mallet for a special fight night? Are you kidding me? I feel so bad for the Canadian fans. I'm getting off topic. But if the UFC sees a fight night succeed on putting on bangers and everything, they really don't give a fuck about name value. They don't give a fuck about these little things that are actually not little things and that are important things. You want to see like fresh people getting to the rankings. Colby Covington just got out of the rankings today. Holy shit. 4 years in the rankings. Not even a win in those 4 years, and he was still in the rankings. That's insane. Michael Chandler, too. I guess there's a bit of a better case for Michael Chandler because he's super entertaining, I guess. But his last win was 2022, when he front kicked Tony Ferguson. And I was going to bring him up for lack of activity, but he just got booked against Mauricio Rufy, which is such weird matchmaking. It really is. It's so weird. But it's just like the UFC sees all this shit and they don't give a fuck. They really don't give a fuck. They care about quantity, so they could just shut the fuck up. They could shut the fuck. They could shut the fuck. They should. They could. That they can shut the audience up and just be like, "Hey, we're putting on these fights. They're putting on these fights. Just sit down and watch. If you're a hardcore fan, you're gonna watch them." Which is true. I watch every single card, but I want to see some. What's the word? Some like level of risk. You know what I mean? Like a top 15 fighter losing to unranked, and you can really put on bangers. And I'm not saying like they don't put on bangers and like they're not exciting, but it's just like we want to see the name value. We don't want shitty co-mains. We don't want a shitty co-mains event. We want. Can we go back to the old times where 5 round co-main events? I get it. Like last year UFC, I forget what the country was, but it was China. Brian Ortega versus Aljo was the co-main event, and that was 5 rounds. But can we do more of that? Can we do maybe? Let's go back to the old times, like 5 years back probably. But let's go back to the triple title fights, and maybe that's a little too much. But those shits were awesome, man. Cody Garbrandt versus T.J. Dillashaw was one of them. Forget what card that was, but let's just do that shit. Why doesn't the UFC just listen to the audience? I don't know. I rambled on. Sorry. The next thing that I actually fucking hate and like I despise with all of my heart. I love UFC, but it makes me want to quit watching. Is the fucking ads. I can't take this shit. I can't. This shit is terrible. Oh my god. Oh my fucking god. We see the same ads every single time. Dustin, can you be quiet? I already put in printer. And he hits the printing machine. Like, dude. Oh my god, they just use the Apex for, sending all these ads out to get money and shit. It's so annoying. It's so annoying. And the new like occurring one every single advertisement is I think it's for Polymarket, but the last line, the guy's like at the bar and he's telling a bunch of guys like, "Oh, I bet on money," and the other guy goes, "Did you win? Did you win any money?" And it's like this ominous setting in the bar, and the guy looks up and he goes, "I guess next round of omelets on me, fellas. Get the fuck out of here! Get the fuck out of here!" I don't want to see that shit anymore. I hate it. I can't stand it. I can't stand it. I can quote it bar for bar. That's how bad it is. It's so bad. I hate the ads. I really do. Let's get on to the last things. The matchmaking. The matchmaking is horrible. I got some examples here just today. We've been knowing about this, but it was like officially released. Brendan Allen, ranked number 4, coming off a short notice win over against RDR, which looked so fucking good at the time because that was before Kyle beat him. But that was so good. It was super impressive. Ranked number 4, and he gets unranked Edmund Shabazian. What the fuck are we doing, UFC? I feel so bad for this man, bro. Oh my god, what are we doing? And I think it's mainly because Brendan Allen wants to stay active, but you can't find, like, speaking of activity, you can't find a better ranked opponent for Brendan Allen. That is insane. It really is. You could honestly do Joe Pyfer versus Brendan Allen. Joe Pyfer versus Brendan Allen at UFC 330 in Philadelphia. Pyfer lives in Philly, trains there. You could do that. That has some risk. And I wouldn't even be mad if Allen versus Gregory Rodriguez. Do they train together? I forget if they do. They might. But, like, still, do someone in the top 15. I don't care if it's ranked 10, 11, 12. That doesn't matter. Sure, it might suck for a second for Brendan Allen, but it's better than a unranked opponent, especially Edmund Shabazian, who, yeah, if like you're a hardcore fan and you watch the sport, you know who this guy is, but the casuals don't. This guy has really no name value. And it's just terrible. I feel so bad for Allen, who just put on a great performance against RDR. And this is what he gets? Are you fucking kidding me? It's crazy. And then we got Zhang, who's top 15 against Alonzo Menifield. Alonzo Menifield just got brutally KO'd by Volkan Ozdemir. Before that, he won a boring decision against Omar Sy. Before that, he won one of the worst fights I've ever seen against Julius Walker, a split decision. Coming off a loss against Volkan Ozdemir, he gets another top 15 opponent. I'm not bad about the Zhang side. He's top 15. He just got kind of fraud checked against Johnny Walker. It makes sense for him to get an unranked opponent. But why are we giving Menifield another shot at top 15? It is disgraceful. It really is. It's fucking terrible. Him versus Menifield versus Carlos Olberg. He literally just served himself on a platter for Olberg. He goes and runs straight to him and gets counter left hooked and just puts out cold. What are we doing, UFC? This is terrible matchmaking. And then also on that card, UFC Macau, Sergey Pavlovich versus Talshirian Terra, whatever his fucking name is. Fuck, man. I don't fucking like him. I don't like him at all. He just put a terrible performance against Tai Tuivasa. Dude, you're taking Tai Tuivasa to a decision in 2026. You looked more gassed than Tai Tuivasa in the third round in 2026. That's how bad that was. That is terrible, dude. And then Sergey Pavlovich, yeah, he's put on 2 stinkers in a row, but he just beat Waldo Cortez Acosta. That is super impressive. Costa is now fighting Volkov for maybe a title shot next. Probably not, but a title shot next, maybe. And Pavlovich gets Teixeira, ranked 11, coming off of a terrible performance against Tai Tuivasa. And before that, got KO'd. Derek Lewis, I was there. I watched that in person. It was awesome. And then before Lewis, oh my God, he got a main event spot for KOing Justin Tafa. What the fuck, UFC? What the fuck? Why? This guy's an industry plant. This guy is getting pushed for no reason at all. For no reason at all. The Brazilian fan base, is that the reason? They want to, have him high ranked so when they go to UFC Brazil, they can put him on the card and that's some name value? Come on, dude. What are we doing? I'm a broken record, but, it makes sense. Because what are the choices the UFC's doing? Like, I can't explain these. These are terrible. I hate them. The ads, get them off my screen. I don't want to see them. At least change them up, for God's sake. It is terrible. Fuck, I'm mad. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Just want to do a quick little rant about some of the problems the UFC is having. There's plenty more, like fighter activity, which I could go into, but I'm not. That's kind of UFC, but also kind of the fighters' fault. This is basically just UFC's fault. These issues I talked about. Thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for my predictions for Aljo versus REALLL coming this Thursday. Peace.